Hello? Hello? Save my world, save our world. Hi everyone, it's me, and today, hashtag TCs. Save our world together.
Hello, Internet. Thank you for stopping by. Today is no ordinary day, and this is no ordinary video. Because today, we're going to help save the planet! Sorry, was that intro too creepy? I planned these scripts way in advance, and so my brain was still in Halloween mode when I wrote it. Anyway, 2 years ago, my good friends MrBeast and Mark Rober, you might have heard of them,
You might have heard of them, you know. Mike Rober, MrBeast, you might have heard of them.
kind of popular on the internet, had massive success with a charitable movement called Team Trees, raising $20 million to plant 20 million trees.
Actually, more than 20 million trees.
And now they're at it again. This time their goal is to raise $30 million to remove 30 million pounds of plastic and trash from the ocean. According to National Geographic, there are 548 million pounds of trash in the ocean.
30 million is not a lot, but at least it's a significant portion that can share the awareness that we need to save the world.
Including a 1.6 million square kilometer trash island just sitting out right in the middle of the Pacific Ocean.
Oh my god, you know it's bad when people call your island a trash island. Gosh.
I think it goes without saying, that's kind of a problem. And the thing is, that problem isn't going away or getting any better. Plastics take a long time to degrade, 450 years, in fact, which means that it's going to continue existing in the oceans for centuries after being washed into the water. This affects marine life, which can get caught up in the plastics, which leads to stuff like starvation and drowning, but it also affects us humans too. If fish aren't ingesting plastic, the toxins are broken down and enter the body we then consume when we fancy a bite of sushi. It's not a great situation for anyone, most of all for planet Earth. And so Jimmy and Mark are trying to do something about it, and they aren't doing it alone. There are hundreds of YouTubers over the next couple weeks all posting videos to help raise awareness for the cause. Because if this is gonna work, we need your help. $30 million is not a small amount of money. Unless, of course, you're Luigi and you inherited a haunted mansion. But
Unless you're Luigi and you hunt. It's me, Luigi! Anyways.
we are not Luigi, and so we need your help, loyal theorists. Go to the donation link in the description below and give whatever you can. 100% of your donation is going directly to Ocean Conservancy and the Ocean Cleanup, non-profit organizations that have partnered with us to help achieve this goal. One with the goal of picking up existing trash in the ocean, and the second with the goal of stopping the problem from getting worse, using machines as a preventative measure to help catch the trash in rivers before it escapes out into the ocean, preventing the problem from getting worse. In short, every dollar translates to one less pound of plastic in the ocean. After 10 years on YouTube ruining your collective childhoods, it's time for me to take the opportunity to redeem the childhoods for the generations to come. So please follow the link down in the description below and donate if you can today. If we don't help solve this now, who knows what's gonna happen in the future.
Do remember to help show support. Thank you so much. Save our world.
Oh wait, we do know because Subnautica reveals a heck of a lot about this exact thing, even though the story kinda skims over it. Ba-doom-ching, get it? Skimming the trash off the top. And with that seamless segue, let's get to the episode. Hello, Internet! Welcome to Game Theory, the show that's willing to dive deeper and deeper and deeper to clean out the tiniest ounces of lore.
Clean out, you know, it's awesome. So, hello Internet, welcome to Game Theory. Hi.
Believe me, there was a lot of diving and searching involved. This game is mostly water after all. Regardless, I found something. A bone, in fact. A bone that I have to pick with Subnautica's developers, Unknown Worlds Entertainment.
Dear Unknown Worlds Entertainment. Hi, it's me, Austin.
Oh my god, this is the signs of. Oh, wow.
Nope, Austin, no. Go home, we've talked about this. You can't keep interrupting my recordings. Sorry about that, where was I? Oh yeah, Unknown Worlds Entertainment. As amazing as your ocean-planeted Subnautica is, did you really expect everything to be fine when a massive spacecraft crashes in from orbit? For those of you who have no idea what I'm talking about, back in 2014, the world was stunned by an early access game called Subnautica, an open-world survival action-adventure game. I wish I was just making that genre up, but it is literally pulled from their Wikipedia page.
Open world survival action adventure video game.
Like they used a random word generator for their game description.
Stealth rhythm management simulation game.
Regardless, what was impressive about this game was that it took place primarily in the ocean of a far-off alien planet. Now, a game built as one big water level is going to be a tall order. I've played through enough Sonic and water temples in my day to know that water plus video games equals big suckage. But
Me too!
Subnautica is anything but that. This game plays like a dream and is absolutely gorgeous. The spectacular water graphics, the colorful plant life, the wonderfully creative creatures when they're not trying to eat your face off. The game even has a bit of story. The ship we're on, the Aurora, crash lands on an alien planet with us as the only survivor. We try to piece together what happened, use scraps from the wreckage to survive, and ultimately escape. You know, your usual survival tropes. But of course, it wouldn't really be complete without some kind of human saves the alien storyline. While on the planet, we learn of an incurable and deadly disease, which was being studied by other hyper-advanced alien life forms called architects well before we got there. This disease actually wiped out the architects, and it's predicted that the same would happen to the whole planet if a cure wasn't found. But in we fly with our crash-landing ship, a non-essential systems maintenance chief from Earth, and of course we figure it all out within a couple days, saving an almost extinct species that were key to the planet's long-term survival. Suck on that, super advanced alien species, we solved your problem in a couple days. Humans! It's a good thing we happened to crash land there, right guys? Or is it? See, there's something that's always bugged me about Subnautica, something that's never really addressed in the game, and that's our impact on the planet's ecosystem. Sure, we stopped a deadly disease, but have we caused more harm than good just by being here? I believe in actuality, we might have doomed this planet even before we set foot out of our life pod. We're talking about the Aurora, the crash, and the devastation left in our wake. It's the waves that follow your boat. These puns are not gonna get any better as this episode goes on, I can promise you that. Spoiler alert for the episode. Spoiler alert for the channel. They do not get better.
We
wake up on this alien planet and see that our ship, the Aurora, has already crashed. There's a massive trench where it initially impacted. The water is dusky and sandy, and there's no natural flora in the surrounding area. So far, this all seems pretty accurate on the surface. We know from shipwrecks that when boats collide with the ocean floor, especially near coral reefs, that we see damage and destruction to those environments. But when you look closer, the math doesn't quite add up. Here's the map that we're given in the game. That sandy section on the bottom right of the map is known as the crash site biome. Here is the placement of the Aurora in that biome. Notice anything strange? To me, it's odd that the biomes to the left of it don't seem to have been impacted by the crash at all. Back in the year 2000, there was a container ship called the Bunga Teratai Satu, which unfortunately crashed into the Great Barrier Reef, immediately destroying a 1,500 square meter area. That's about 5,000 square feet, but that wasn't all. It also dispersed the toxic paint from the hull up to 250 meters or 820 feet away, thanks to the abrasive impact with the sandy seafloor. The Bunga Teratai Satu was only 184 meters or 600 feet in length, but the Aurora spaceship in the game is 1,280 meters or 4,200 feet long, nearly 10 times the size.
Wow! Nearly 10 times the size! And also, I really like it that MacPad mentions both meters and feet, so that for individuals who uses different type of metrics will be able to understand what he meant. So, thank you so much. Thank you. And let's continue.
Based on that factor alone, we would estimate that the initial damage would have a radius of 10.5 square kilometers, or 6.5 square miles, which is not the kind of damage that we're seeing on this map. This kind of damage would occur to the Aurora's left, right, and front. That's basically the entire map of the game, totally destroyed by just the impact alone.
Oh my gosh!
That's not all the negative impact that our crashing spaceship would have caused either. With that amount of earth being dug up and water being shifted, it's likely that it would have caused a tsunami. Tsunamis are a series of large waves caused by a big displacement of water, leading to what appears to be rapidly rising tides rather than traditional waves.
Like for example, if there's an earthquake, like underwater volcanoes, tectonic plates shifting, or maybe just explosions, or meteorite.
Tsunamis are usually caused by things like earthquakes or volcanoes, but sometimes they can be caused by underwater detonations, things that are man-made. And a ship of this size crashing at high speed from space, yeah, I think that's got a real possibility of having a similar effect. Or, if not that, then definitely the explosion that comes later. A tsunami would obviously be devastating to any civilizations on land, but we don't have any of that in Subnautica, so what do tsunamis do to ocean life? I mean, they're underwater anyway, what's the big deal? Well,
why not underwater current.
The 2004 Boxing Day tsunami in India gives us some insight. Naturally, a tsunami is going to displace a lot of water, but also a lot of sediment as it rips up the seafloor. In India, they learned that this leads to breakages and suffocating of coral reefs and the death of seagrass beds thanks to the sediment blocking both sunlight and oxygen. These coral reefs and seagrass beds are homes to many species, especially in their early stages of life. With these suddenly gone, marine life finds it harder to survive. Plus, the tsunami itself will flush algae and bacteria into neighboring ecosystems. Ecosystems which maybe aren't adapted to deal with this new invasive species. For a really wacky example of it, check out this concrete block. It was transported by a tsunami in 2011 from Japan all the way over to the Oregon coastline.
Wow!
In studying that block, researchers found that the algae and microorganisms had survived the trip, allowing them to establish new communities in Oregon's coastline and disrupt the natural balance that existed there. And all of this is just talking about the initial impact. It gets way worse from here. I mentioned earlier how in order to survive, we have to scavenge around for materials. Around the crash site of the Aurora, we find some very useful supplies. There's lots of scrap metal that's broken off from the ship upon impact, but there's also things like batteries, as well as food and water floating around. And
I noticed that there's an anime character.
all that garbage floating around is going to be good for us in our survival, it's not going to be so good for our ocean planet's survival. Batteries and e-waste in general are unfortunately pretty common sights in ocean cleanup.
No, it's just bad for the oceans. They're toxic chemicals. Don't do that, please.
2019, 53.6 million tons of e-waste was collected worldwide, and only 17.4% of it was recycled. That leaves 82.6% of it being disposed of by dismantling, incineration, or being dumped in the ocean. As batteries degrade, they release toxic chemicals. This can be because of their use of cadmium, nickel, and lead, all of which leach into the ocean over time and lead to fish absorbing these toxic chemicals as they try to get oxygen out of the water. Now, in the game, batteries don't use lead or nickel, hooray! But the good news doesn't last because the batteries use copper, yet another heavy metal and likewise toxic if ingested. Swing and a miss there, Unknown Worlds Entertainment. We have a similar issue with the food and water supplies that we find. The food and water itself aren't really the big deal here, it's their containers that are causing the problem. Stuff like water bottles. In 2017, the Ocean Conservancy did an international coastal cleanup. Of the 20,834,689 items that they collected, plastic bottles came in as the third most common source of trash. 1.5 million collected, with plastic bottle caps coming in at number 4, 1.1 million collected. And that's just the bottles. Other plastics like bags, straws, food containers, lids, all of them took up spots 5 through 9 on the 10 most common trash pieces collected.
So much different plastic waste, plastic litters all around the world. Come on, like even on planet Earth right now, the world that you are living right now, right? We polluted, we littered everywhere. Even the deepest points of the ocean, there's a plastic bag there. We even littered what are you doing, human beings? What are we doing?
Plastic is the most common thing that you'll find in your ocean trash. Americans alone throw away 35 billion empty water bottles every year. And that's Americans alone, and that's also not including soda bottles, which is crazy. That's just a heck of a lot of plastic. And when it doesn't end up being collected by 700,000 volunteers, it ends up forming what's known as garbage patches. There's actually one of these off the west coast of the US. A plastic bottle discarded from California takes the California current south toward Mexico. There, it may catch the North Equatorial Current, which crosses the vast Pacific and ends up settling into one of these vast garbage patches, which could mean traveling over 5,000 miles. These
5,000!
plastics prove ridiculously harmful for sea life. Turtles mistake the plastic bags for jellyfish, albatrosses mistake plastic pellets for fish eggs, and we've all seen those pictures of seals getting caught up in abandoned fishing nets.
And literally choking themselves to death.
All of these end in starvation, ruptured organs, or drowning for innocent sea life. And it doesn't end there either. Thanks to the ocean currents, it gets broken up into tiny pieces, which start affecting the plankton and algae by blocking out large patches of sunlight, which means they can't photosynthesize. This means a decrease in population, which in turn decreases the population of everything up the food chain, all the way up to sharks and whales. It is like one massive, awful set of dominoes. All of this is to say that having plastic water bottles spread all across the crash zone is going to have some dire consequences for the local flora and fauna, if our planet is anything to go by.
Even in the games, we are damaging the flora and fauna in the games. So, on Earth, our own world, why are we destroying our own flora and fauna? Gosh, what are we doing?
Because here's the thing, friends, the Aurora crash has released a ton of garbage into the ocean. The Aurora was sent to build a phase gate on the other side of the galaxy, a construction plan that according to the ship's status log will take 3 years. And according to that same log, there were 157 people on board the ship. With that amount of crew, you're gonna need a lot of supplies. How much? Well, we can figure it out using the International Space Station as a guide. Rehydrated food eaten in space initially comes dehydrated, if that wasn't obvious. And those dehydrated foods need to be contained in order to keep them safe for consumption. Typically, food on the International Space Station weighs in with 0.27 pounds or 0.12 kilograms of packaging weight.
And you must understand that they are dehydrated to be rehydrated, then be rehydrated. You get the point.
We know the Aurora's project time, we know how many people were on board, so let's do some quick calculations. We'll assume a standard 3 meals per day per passenger, so that gives us 127.17 pounds or 57 kilograms per day in packaging waste.
I really like it that MatPat mentions both kg and lbs. Thank you.
Then we have to multiply that by the amount of days in a year, 365, and then multiply that by the 3 years of the mission, giving us a grand total of
Math!
139,251 pounds of trash. 63,000 kilograms of packaging just released out into this ocean planet overnight. And that's not even considering anything else, like parts of the ship floating around, other storage containers, things like that. Referring back to that 2017 coastal cleanup, food packaging tends to get caught up in ocean currents, moving them up to 5,000 miles away, which, when the map that we have is only a few thousand meters, means that we're now affecting areas that go well beyond the scope of our crash site. This has suddenly become a planet-wide issue. Fortunately, the Aurora doesn't seem to have any hydrocarbons like crude oil on board, so that's good. At least we don't have to deal with a huge oil spill, but we do have to deal with a huge radiation spill.
What? Gosh, another global catastrophe, global disaster. Oh my gosh.
If you try to swim near the Aurora at the start of the game, you'll find radiation in the area.
Detecting increased local radiation levels.
This will start to deplete your health until you die and respawn. Later on, we're informed that the Aurora's drive core isn't in good shape.
Warning. Local radiation readings suggest the Aurora's drive core has reached critical state. Quantum detonation will occur within 2 hours.
In other words, big ship about to go big boom. And big boom it certainly does. The game describes it as a quantum explosion, which doesn't really tell us that much. Quantum's just one of those science fiction words that gets added onto things when they can't explain the science behind it. But that is not how we roll here.
And then, marvelous.
What sort of explosion are we talking about? Upon impact, we know that there was clearly damage to the drive core, and that led to radiation pouring out into the environment, even before the explosion takes place. This, to me, screams nuclear reactor, and it's not that far-fetched either. NASA actually uses radioisotope thermoelectric generators for long-haul missions to places like Mars. This is because radioactive substances release heat as it breaks down over time. That heat is then converted into electricity, which can power the spacecraft. This would also mean that if there was a breach in the protective casing of the radioisotope, then we would see radiation leaking out into the atmosphere around it. And
Oh no. Gosh. Thus polluting the entire environment around it, surrounding environment, and case in point to human beings, right? To human beings. Tumors, cancers, diseases, illnesses, all these different things just bad for your human life in general.
an explosion would probably cause more damage, creating more breaches for more radiation to leak out, hence the nearly 1,000 meter radius of radiation that appears after the explosion. Why does any of this matter? Well, if the radiation is indeed nuclear in nature, you can bet your bottom dollar it ain't gonna do the planet much good. We know that if you, the player, are in close proximity to the Aurora upon its explosion, you die instantly, so it's likely that any other sea life, be it flora or fauna, would suffer the same fate. The radiation radius then increases massively to 940 meters, which is nearly the size of the Aurora itself. This isn't just affecting the crash site biome, but also the Koosh Zone, mushroom forest, safe shallows, kelp forest, and grassy plateaus. All of these ecosystems are now in grave danger.
Direct danger.
And not just the current residents, but the next generations are the ones that are going to get hit the hardest, as found in the Japanese seas near the Fukushima Daiichi nuclear power plant explosion. This is because eggs and larvae are still developing, and so the radioactive atoms can start to replace atoms in their bodies, altering their DNA and causing cancers as well as other weird mutations and physical deformities. And just to be clear, no, I'm not suggesting that you're going to start seeing two-headed fish like the cows in Fallout 4. These physical mutations usually result in deformities like smaller or misshapen limbs, disrupted disrupted camouflage, things like cataracts causing eventual blindness, as seen in the mice near Chernobyl. Because of the
If the limbs are too big, if the fins are too weak, if the muscles are too unbalanced, if my left hand is bigger than my right hand, I will not be able to do things balancedly. Okay.
these deformities, the young fish don't tend to survive for very long. Their mutations giving them massive disadvantages in the food chain, which in turn can cause radiation poisoning in those bigger fish that decide to eat them.
I agree with you. Massive disadvantage in the food chain.
Sure, we do eventually fix the leak in Subnautica, and after 3 days the radiation subsides, but in a sense, that doesn't really matter. Fukushima's nuclear accident managed to transport radiation all the way from Japan to Canada's continental shelf in 2.1 years. It continued to remain high until 2016. This shows us that the explosion of the aurora is going to have potentially global effects for the next 5 years. And if we look at Chernobyl 35 years on, we're still seeing massive repercussions of that explosion. Researchers looking into plants like wheat, rye, oats, and barley that are near Chernobyl are still showing high levels of radioactive contamination, making them very dangerous for consumption by humans and animals.
And they have been for decades. And if we do it wrongly, if we manage it wrongly, control it wrongly, it will not be decades, it will be centuries, it will be millenniums. So, gosh.
The radioisotope that tends to be used for radioisotope thermoelectric generators in space is typically plutonium-238, which has a half-life of 87.7 years, meaning that the planet could be dealing with the effects of radiation for centuries after the crash. So while yes, we managed to stop a mystery illness affecting the planet, we also introduced destruction to a delicate ecosystem. Between the trash that we brought, the tsunamis, the radiation, it's likely that we're not a net positive for this planet. We completely wrecked the world of Subnautica, and we're not done because 2 years later, Altera decides to do some more research on the planet, bringing with it more people, more waste, and more damage to the environment. Planet 4546b just cannot catch a break.
4546b. And that is just a planet, a fictional planet in the game. And we are ruining it. Then what about our planet, our Earth, our Gaia, our terra firma, our globe, the blue marble? Why are we destroying our very own planet?
Enjoy the tranquil world of Subnautica while it lasts, because humans are about to destroy it, like we tend to do. But hey, just because we're doing it to Subnautica's world doesn't mean that our planet has to suffer the same fate. Today's episode may have been about a spaceship crashing into an alien planet, but the science we used about marine ecosystems is very real, so what are you waiting for? Go to the top line of the description to click the link to become a part of Team C's. Help
Team C's.
Us reach that $30 million goal. I really admire how much thought and care has gone into this two-pronged approach for saving the oceans. Firstly, by removing garbage from the oceans and coastlines 1 pound at a time, and secondly, by stopping garbage from getting to the oceans in the first place. Don't know how trash gets to the ocean? Well, turns out 80% of the ocean trash starts in rivers. So Team C's is going to be putting trash-eating robots into the world's most polluted rivers to eat up all that garbage before it ever reaches the ocean. How cool is that? Could have used those sorts of things on Planet 4546b. So once again, please head down to the description to donate whatever you can to the cause. And tell your friends and family too, they've made it super easy to remember. For every $1 donated, that's 1 pound of trash out of the ocean. Simple as that. Let's all band together to help save the planet, so hopefully when the future does arrive, we've not only saved our own planet, but we're able to save all the others as well. But hey, that's just a theory. A game theory. Thanks for watching.
Thank you so much for watching this video. Please remember to show support, and yeah, save my world, save your world, save everyone's world, save our world, save it for our generation, save it for the next generations, save it for your children's children, your grandchildren's, your great-grandchildren's, your great-grandchildren's great-grandchildren's. Thank you so much for being a very nice human being to everyone. Yes! And thank you so much if you watch this video to the end. If you do like this video, please remember to like, share, and subscribe to my channel, and comment down below if you have any share of us. Don't forget to follow my channel, and I sincerely appreciate all of your support for my channel as well as Team C's. Thank you so much. Save the world, save our world. Thank you. But hey, that's just a theory, a game theory. No. But hey, that's just a fact. A fact. Thanks for watching. Thank you. Well, and I'll see you in my next video. Bye! Do remember to subscribe. Thank you so much. Hope to see you in my next video. Bye! Support!